it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch the scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio. Once again with your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY and with the antimedia.org. Thank you guys for tuning in here on Wednesday, February 4th, 2015. We keep forgetting to do our date stamp on these shows just for reference purposes in the future if we ever need to go back to them. Anyway, brand new February. We had a full moon last night. That was pretty amazing. I got to spend some time observing that. And I don't know. I feel re-energized, man. This is the 2015. It's time to make some moves for freedom, for justice, and obviously 2014 was a rough year for both of those things. I'm joined on the line by our co-host here, DB Schwartz. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, Nick, and that moon is looking crazy, dude. It's just looking like a big cheese ball over here.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seemed like you can reach out and grab it, but it's definitely bringing some good things. And we're also joined on the line early here with Manny. How you doing tonight, Manny?
Hey, Nick, what's happening? How are you doing? And stuff like that. I'm really still fired up about that, subject on Monday, because that subject itself can carry itself for even 2 hours. There's so many things happening out there, and I just briefly wanted to mention real quick that we have the Commission of Human Rights in the United States, happens to be in Los Angeles, and they talk about how they torture people in psychiatric wards in the United States and everywhere. And they have a museum to show you the whole information, stuff like that. It's really, really, very, very interesting and stuff like that, So just want to mention that to you from the start of the show. And I love that show, and here I am, Nick, and all that. And hey, what's up there, BB?
Hey, how's it going, Manny? That's a good thing to start with, because with this Jordanian pilot and all these theatrics going around, because that was a torturous way to execute somebody. And the barbarism, it's really got to wake people up. I hope it is. I hope it's not galvanizing them to do stupid stuff like go over there and join the military and go fight these guys, because this is totally a fabricated kind of war. But people really are being tortured and dying, and we need our military and the militaries of the world to stop this stuff, man. Just stop it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Stuff like that. Oh, Nick, by the way, I just want to let you know my friend down there in San Diego on the 760, he's live streaming you, okay?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was wondering about that because we had him on last week, and I asked if they wanted to talk, but I forgot that Michael was live streaming the show. So there's another avenue for people to listen to us is on live stream. Right now, you can listen to us via your computer, via your phone. We're working on getting back onto some terrestrial radio too, some actual FM AM radio. We were on one here in San Diego for a little while, but then I don't know what happened. They got mad at us, probably something we were saying, and they took us off.
We offended a corporate sponsor, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, no, it was a radio station that was a nonprofit through like a college around here. I don't know. We probably said something that they didn't like, and anyway, we're trying to get back on. We're gonna try to work with Activist San Diego maybe, and because they have a public radio station too, and see if we can't get back onto some public stations. Who knows? But we're definitely excited. I think Monday was a really good show, and if anybody wants to know more about what's going on with torture, with Guantanamo, with the CIA. And also with domestic torture, the torture that's going on right here in the U.S. that you don't really hear about. Listen to Monday's show. You can go back and listen to it either in the archives on the website that you're on right now listening, or you can go on ucy.tv on YouTube and find the YouTube video there and listen back to that, because we actually had some people on the show that have been through the system and know about the system. And then we also talked a little bit about Ukraine. Anyway, I feel like Monday was a strong show. Hopefully tonight will be just as good, if not better, because there is a lot of stuff to talk about. And Manny, I'm glad you're joining us. Feel free to stay on for the whole show and just chime in whenever you want. For now, we'll start jumping into this news that we have going on. First, just some breaking stuff with Ross Ulbricht, which is one of the founders or the founder of the Silk Road, which, if you're not familiar with, that was a website where you can go online and basically buy whatever the hell you want with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. And, a lot of people were buying and selling quote-unquote illegal drugs and things like that on this site. So anyway, this guy got nailed for it. Even though he wasn't actually the one doing the drugs or anything like that. The problem, one of the bigger problems, I think, the reason why they came down on him so hard is because, things like the Silk Road, it's kind of like the Pirate Bay, these are status quo challenging, counter-economic websites and organizations, and those kind of ideas and websites and stuff like that, they're pretty dangerous to the status quo. And the establishment doesn't really like to. The establishment doesn't like to let those kind of things slide. I mean, if you look at Craigslist, look about how many times Craigslist has been demonized in the media, and the Craigslist killer, and all this stuff. It's like, anything that goes counter to the whole going to Walmart using your credit card type of thing. It's going to be demonized in the media, and that's basically, to me, that's what this whole Ross Ulbricht thing is about. They're trying to send a message: hey, don't put out disruptive ideas, otherwise, you're going to get thrown in the slammer. And it's very similar to what recently happened to Chelsea Manning. Very similar to what happened to Aaron Swartz. These are very similar ideas, and once again, it's the innovator that's getting thrown behind bars. You know what I mean? And it's just it's something that 2014 was full of, and this year we've got to really fight for these people, because they're fighting for us, man. I mean, the Silk Road, it's an idea. Yeah, not everybody used it, but it's an idea that really pushes the limits of freedom and anonymity and internet e-commerce and stuff like that. And these are ideas that we should be embracing. So. We got to make sure that we're aware of these whistleblowers or these hacktivists or whatever you want to call them, and try to build some kind of support network, because right now the guys are just getting thrown in the slammer left and right.
And they're the legitimate ones. Like, you got to realize, if they're in jail, unless your name's Edward Snowden, who somehow got out because he's a genius, if they're in jail, man, they were legit. So really look into what they did, because they're heading down the right direction. And the people in charge were getting kind of scared of them. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like that saying, I forget who said it, but it's like, who's in charge by knowing who you can't criticize. But when you make systems like the Silk Road, you start messing around and challenging the dollar system, and we all know the dollar reigns supreme above everything. And you challenge the dollar system too hard, then you're going to be in big trouble. And there's been people that are associated with Bitcoin that have mysteriously committed suicide and stuff like that. I mean, it's a dangerous job to be an innovator in a world of corporatism where corporations will literally kill people to preserve their profits and stuff like that. It's a dangerous place, but I think just like Ross Ulbricht and these other revolutionary thinkers and people like that, obviously especially look at Edward Snowden, man. He's willing to put doing the right thing above everything, even his own life, and Snowden knows that he could wind up dead. Snowden had to give up his nice life, making a bunch of money. He put it all above. He put doing the right thing above all that stuff.
And everybody should watch Citizen4 because it kind of showed how him and Greenwald met. And he was saying, I'm not worried about my life or anything like that, because if I don't stop what's starting right now, we're all of us, me included, is a guarantee we're going to have this slavery system set up where we're not going to have a life. We'll have an existence, but you'll have wished you went down fighting. And he was dead set and serious on that and said, listen, if everything you ever do is categorized and cataloged, you have zero freedom no matter what you think. And it's heading in that direction.
Yeah, man. And, another thing that Snowden really touched on is the chilling effect, which is the self-censoring effect, where people don't even have to get censored anymore. People censor themselves because they're so afraid of the repercussions that could go on. So, it's so important to support these whistleblowers and stuff. And, the U.S. had the audacity to go and say, oh, yeah, we support freedom of speech. Over in France, we support you guys after the Charlie Hebdo attacks and stuff, and we want to go stand for freedom of speech. And look at all those buffoons that were over there, standing over there. Angela Merkel, Benjamin Netanyahu, all these oligarchs that and even the British were saying that they support freedom of speech and stuff. And these guys are the ones that crack down on it harder than anybody. And it's just a total hypocritical scenario, right, that's going on. But before we go on, I just want to get a little bit more of this domestic stuff before we move on into these other topics here. And one really hot topic, and I'm sure we can get a few callers on this, is the vaccine debate, which has been brought up by this whole measles outbreak from Disneyland or whatever.
And what spread the measles? Can someone really be honest with it and find out what the source was? Because measles outbreaks just don't happen. And blaming it on anti-vaxxers, what is that? Like 1 out of 3,000 children is not being vaccinated due to their parents' choice. 1 out of 3,000? You're going to tell me that creates an outbreak? We got to find out what the source of it is. And honestly, no one's ever died from the measles. It's pretty much proven. So if you want to do it, if you want to test your child's health with something, go for it.
Well, they don't die in the U.S. very often from measles, but in other countries they do still, actually. But, yeah, I mean, it's turned into this big debacle. And to me, first of all, it smells of distraction. And second of all, here's the thing that's really scary to me. Overall, do I think vaccines are good? Yes, I think vaccines are good because I think
they used to be good.
Yeah, and I think
GMO laden now with heavy metals in them.
I think a lot of them are good, and some of them are definitely to be concerned about. And there is documented proof that there have been people that have been harmed by vaccines and stuff. But I don't think, in general, that I don't think everybody's at risk from getting sick from vaccines. But here's the thing to me that really scares the hell out of me is that there was a bunch of press and then a bunch of people on the internet that I've seen basically saying that any parents that don't vaccinate their kids should go to jail. And that's to me what really got me about this debate is it went above and beyond, and it started becoming very fascist in its in the argument, and it was definitely
they got to be
well
they got to be controlled dissent, man, and it's just plants and it's people that they're paying to get on the computer and write that shit and trying to start debates where there's no debates. Listen, vaccines, if you can prove that there's not an epidemic going on from them, like in Europe where they don't have these skyrocketing rates of everything, including autism. And maybe it's the entire environment over there is a lot more pure. But if that's the case, we have a hell of a lot bigger problem than vaccines.
Yeah, man, and I think the vaccine thing is a much smaller problem than it's being led on to. You know, it's this whole media spectacle. They got Rand Paul on CNBC to go on and talk about it, and then they turned his whole argument around, which, you know, I don't agree with Rand Paul very often, but he was right. I mean, he said it like, you know, yeah, vaccines for the most part are effective, but at the same time, it should still be the parent's choice, or the kid when it's of the right age, when they're old enough to make their own decision to decide whether they want a vaccine or not. I mean, the state should not be going around shoving needles in people's arms just because they say it's for the better for the rest of us. I mean, they say that's the same reason why they created the Federal Reserve, was to make us all of our lives better. And look at how that turned out. They said going to Iraq and this war on terror, the Patriot Act, all this stuff they keep saying is to help us all out. And, you know, a lot of times it turns out to be the exact opposite. So if this debate leads to legislation that is mandating vaccines, I mean, that's a huge, huge risk. I mean, states are already doing it in a very, very large way, and people have to opt out if they want to opt out of it. But, you know, I definitely like to look at the science, and for the most part, most of these vaccines are pretty healthy. You know, maybe you don't want to give them to your kid in such a close regimen. You don't want to overload them with 10 vaccines at a time, 5 vaccines at a time. I understand that. I actually think you should probably get 1 at a time over a period of a few months, you know, separated between a few months each. That way your immune system has time to, you know, adapt to each one of these things. If you get them all at once.
What's with the Hep B vaccine at birth? I mean, this is, to me, what you're doing is this is the lowest form of the lowest common denominator. Their excuse is that, well, we've seen babies come back for their monthly checkups with hepatitis from an unclean environment. Well, guess what, man? Tell CPS to get off their ass and actually do their job then and figure out, you know, what families are okay to raise children. But as a precautionary measure, a hepatitis B vaccine to all newborns, I mean, this is becoming medical terrorism, dude.
Yeah, and another point I wanted to make just about vaccines in general is that I think, like any other technology, man, they can be definitely overused. And I think very much like antibiotics are overused, a lot of these vaccines are overused. Like, I think the flu vaccine should probably only be given to people that are at high risk of catching the flu. That way you can start building. People always like to talk about like herd immunity and stuff. It's like, yeah, you want herd immunity, but you want that to develop naturally. Like, unfortunately, you got to let people get sick to develop some kind of natural immunities to a lot of these diseases. So, I mean, I'm all for vaccinating the people that are like for the flu that are at risk, the children, the elderly that can actually die if they catch it. But regular people, I mean, people that are healthy, they should be able to, you know, naturally try to fight it off to keep their natural immune system nice and strong. So, you know, very much like antibiotics, I think that if you over-vaccinate and because if you put a virus into a corner, you're going to see the virus start to mutate because it's going to be a defense mechanism. So the virus is, the more, if you overly vaccinate, you try to eradicate an entire disease, well, then you're going to force that disease to get, you know, evolve so that it can become resistant to these vaccines that they're putting out there.
And it's no coincidence it went hand in hand, the demise of many of these diseases that were pandemic, because the sanitation got phenomenally better in the late 40s, right after the war. And we got things, you know, basically kept clean. And society became, you know, a lot more tidy. Things just didn't have breeding grounds like they used to. So a lot of things contribute. Vaccines work great if the ingredients are pure, if they're not putting in formaldehyde and mercury and aluminum and all this other God knows what's in there. If you get a European vaccine, by all means, go for it. But you can't trust the stuff that's in America, man. I hate to say it.
So I want to go to a few of our callers here to chime in on this, because I want to know your guys' opinion, because I know this debate is very, very polarizing. I definitely think there's a middle ground.
This is Manny.
But yeah, we're going to go to Manny first. Manny, what do you have to say about this whole vaccine debate?
You know, in previous shows, Bravo said that, you know, people in the United States are over-medicated. After a while, I saw it at the hospital firsthand this week where a lot of people, older people, are getting their dignity taken away by these pencil pushers and stuff like that. RNs can't do their job. They say, well, I think the patient would be better off if he does this or she does this. But, administrators control the whole damn medical system needs to be revamped. But I also say that the people here, after a while, the body seems to think it's part of the protocol to take all this medication. Like if when you're depressed, take a pill. If you're a little terminal, take a pill. If you need to go on a diet, take a pill. It's take a pill for everything here. After a while, your body thinks it's part of the body, and it just doesn't work anymore. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. It kind of does go hand in hand with this fascist medical system that's going on. And if you think about this ideology that is breeding, I mean, it was definitely led by the media. A bunch of these articles came out, and people are putting out these op-eds: arrest everyone that doesn't vaccinate their kids and stuff like that. I mean, this was on I think it was on USA Today. USA Today ran a story about throwing everyone in jail that doesn't want to vaccinate their kids.
Exactly.
But it goes along the same kind of ideological lines as Obamacare does, right? Because Obamacare is a compulsory medical system, and I mean, how long is it going to be before they start saying, okay, well, if you're not going to vaccinate, you're going to get charged a bunch of fines so that we can pay for future projected medical expenses for your children?
Yeah. Well, my problem with vaccinations is this, that you have to go to a certain place to get it. It won't be, like, for instance, we can go to the Mexican cartels and get it for cheaper, but the problem is that doesn't work, that the United States tells you where to go and who to buy it from, and then, of course, the boys in Mexico, they don't take no Medicare and all that, So it's a process. Who's making the money? I mean, it's just there's so many... Very few people controlling the whole system. Like, I don't see them saying, okay, Manny can get into the business and start doing it and maybe sell it cheaper. No, I can't do that because I'm not registered with the government or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say,
They poison the food, they poison the water, they poison the air, and then they control any medical care you might need to save your own life. So they got everybody by the balls, man.
Exactly.
So we do have another caller on the line. We're going to go to the caller from 954. We're still on this vaccine debate. Did you want to add anything to this?
Yeah. Have you looked into that there are like 700 strains of the flu?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of different strains of the flu.
Right, and I'm hearing a lot of feedback. I already know I was on there, but they take a guess. They take a guess to see which one they're going to do. I mean, that's crazy. Not just that. I mean, with the pharmaceuticals, the way they're doing now, I mean, pretty much everybody knows that pharmaceuticals are huge with government. Does anybody really think that they're looking out for our best interest, with vaccines? There's mercury in vaccines. In the beginning, they may have been good, but now I just think it's just another thing for them to take money from us and control it, the population.
And make us sick and make the future generations robots,
Absolutely.
Man. Robots.
Absolutely.
Imagine if 1 out of 2 kids in 2050 has autism. What's that going to do to the workforce for them?
Absolutely. And have you seen the statistics from the autism from back in the 70s up until now? I think it was, I don't know exactly, I don't want to be quoted on this, but it was like 1 in 14, now it's like 1 in 50. It's insane.
Yeah, no, it's gone way up. It's gone way up, and I know there's been a lot of people that have said it was part of the vaccines and stuff. As far as I know, I'm not sure. I think that it's probably a compounding environmental issue where there's something polluting the environment that is causing these autism rates. I mean, obviously, because you know,
Absolutely.
if you look
that
at
has something to do with it too.
if you look historically, man, if you look at like evolution and stuff, you know, most times the reason for traits to be passed on is because they're very favorable as far when it comes to reproduction. But you know, when someone has autism, I think that lowers their chances of reproducing. So if you look at purely from an evolutionary standpoint, the rates of autism should actually be going down over time, not up.
Yeah.
So that tells me that
Yeah.
there's definitely some kind of environmental factor that's
Or
going
it's
on.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that pesticides have something to do with it. There could be, I mean, who knows? It could be related to vaccines. I maybe the few vaccines that have mercury in them. I have no clue. You know, and you know, science is still trying to come up with the exact reasons why it's going on. And I think a lot of times they're trying to beat around the bush because, let's face it, the thing that's polluting us worse is probably also one of the industries that makes the most money. So there's a conflict of interest. So that's why we also, you know, one of the other things that we need, we talk about education pretty often, but is a independent research establishment, man. We need our own independent research establishment that isn't funded by either corporations or by government. I mean, there needs to be independent ways of funding these things, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important for people to put their money where their mouths are when it comes to a lot of this stuff, is because independent research, man, it's almost impossible to get funding for that kind of stuff. And unless you're doing research that's going to reinforce some existing profitable operation, nobody really wants to give you any money, especially if the research that you're going to do could undermine a huge amount of profitability for a corporation.
Well,
Yep.
most of
You
it,
know what's killing us, Nick? One of the things that's killing us, and both in Mexico and the United States, is our waters. Our waters is just amazing what I saw, and that also even in Africa. But our waters, and that's why Aaron Brockovich, on the last name there, that's why they did the movie, because it's just amazing how, like you said, you mentioned something, who's making a lot of money. I mean, the government's not doing nothing about our waters. Why? Because they want those companies to sell water like crazy. Water is more expensive, you know, by the bottled water than anything else. It's just crazy and stuff like that, you know. And so it's just like the vaccines. I hate to see what happened to those poor 43 students from the state of Guerrero. That I'm sure they were tortured before they were burned and killed. Seriously, I have no doubt about it. You know, seriously. But it's just crazy how things are and what the government controls and has the other company controlling, like the water and the vaccines. And you have to take your card to get smog at a certain place. You just can't go anywhere. You go where the DMV tells you to go, you know, and so on. You know that.
Yeah, it's very corporatized with the government monopoly backing it up, and that's also what's going on now. What was that state? Oklahoma, Nebraska, one of these small states where they just legalized the production of hemp, and unfortunately,
I think that was Kentucky, actually, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Kentucky. It was one of the other states, more low profile. Anyway, what happened was when they went to legalize this stuff. Well, the government basically set up a monopoly where they have a board where they can either approve or deny people to grow hemp. So it's not like, okay, hemp's legal now, anybody can just grow hemp in their backyard. No, that's not the case. It's like, oh, we legalize hemp, except here's our stipulation. You got to go through this state sanctioned process. You got to pay us a shitload of taxes on anything you make. I mean, this is what these guys do, you know. And
So it's down
well,
with
that's
legalization.
of course, and that's what the government does. It's oppression. You know what I mean? I mean, no matter what. And the same thing with the vaccinations. They may have been good, but if you're going to be forced to do it, you know, I mean, who's making all the money on it? It all comes down to money. No matter what happens, it all comes down to money.
And a good product never needs aggressive marketing, a.k.a. marketing at the point
Absolutely.
of a gun.
Absolutely. Propaganda with the government and the extreme marketing.
Yeah, man,
Unbelievable.
these vaccine marketeers have become so proficient at their marketing skills that now.
Have you seen the billboards on the highways? They show that little baby, no vaccination, no kisses. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I
man,
mean, that's ridiculous.
And you know, they've gotten so aggressive with their marketing that now they're even saying that if you don't use their product, that you should be arrested. So yeah, it's way out of control. And DB, you said it perfectly, man. If you got a good product, you don't have to be that aggressive with your marketing. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean,
Well,
That's
since when
absolutely
did the
right.
government care about the health of its citizens? I mean, it goes contradictory to what they've done forever. So if they're going to push
Yeah,
vaccines,
right.
it's some
I mean, that's
bullshit.
common sense, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, they've done all kinds of horrible things to the public, whether it be
Tuskegee experiments, anyone?
yeah, all those STD experiments they did on African Americans, all the nuclear tests that they were doing out in the deserts, and all the who knows how much fallout came from all those experiments and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, historically speaking, the government never really looked out for our health, so it's kind of funny that they all of a sudden feel that they need to mandate people.
Yeah,
to
now
get
right
vaccines.
now they love us all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Now they want to save us.
We have another caller on the line from 480. Hopefully you're calling in to chime in on this vaccine debate because we're having an interesting discussion here. Anyway, how's it going? What do you want to talk about? 480, can you hear me? Okay, 480, I'm dropping your call because you didn't say nothing.
He hung up, but I want to mention, since he didn't answer, I want to mention that, that torching thing that really brought my attention that Saturday when we were down there, Nick, that how the Mexican cops, it's like that they had me in jail for me to talk and snitch on another protester, which I didn't do. That they used that carbonated water to put it up your nose. I mean, that is just completely, that could make you sick. Actually, it did make me sick, I should say. But it's just crazy. And if I hadn't known somebody there, I would have still be there the whole week instead of like that. I was only there 2 days. They wanted to make an example out of me and put me there 30 days actually. But it's just kind of ridiculous how things are, and I don't believe that the government really has my best interest on both sides of the border and stuff like that. And it's just really sad, and stuff like that. And then when you try to talk about it and stuff like that, people, like for the record, for instance, I blame people in a lot of ways too, because everybody was more hyped this week about the damn Super Bowl than the real issues are happening. And for the record, Manny didn't watch the Super Bowl or the commercials. I just watched the Puppy Bowl because you guys know that I love animals, stuff like that.
You missed Katy Perry riding the Beast at halftime, man. It was awesome.
Oh,
Watch it, man. Come on.
Yeah, she sang the
I'm a little disappointed, man, that you actually watched it.
Hey, I'm a student of history. I need to see when I see something important,
So we got
everybody's got an excuse.
we got our caller from 480 that called back. Let's see if we have a good connection here. How's it going, 480? We're on the vaccine debate still. Did you want to add anything to this? Okay, 480 still doesn't have anything to say. We're going to go now to 347 area code. How's it going? You're on the Anti-Media. What do you want to talk about? 347, can you hear me? Okay.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going? You're on the Anti-Media Radio. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, hi. That's my first time on. Just, trying to listen to what you guys are talking about. Maybe I can elaborate, but like I said, it's my first time on here. So you guys are an Anti-Media Radio show.
Yeah, so right now we're kind of talking about these this whole vaccine debate, and it's been kind of lunacy on both sides of it, I think. Did you have anything to say? Do you have an opinion on the whole vaccine debate?
Yeah, I was actually reading some articles, and I actually saw a video, about a guy basically talking about how vaccines are used to actually kill people. And I find it it's sad, this whole situation with the world, everything that's going on is just sad. Like the vaccinations are not made to help anybody, And I just find it really sad.
To me, and DB kind of touched on this earlier in the show too. It's not really, they credit vaccines with the decline of all these diseases and stuff, but really that isn't exactly true, because mostly what helped decline and eradicate a lot of these diseases was just better sanitation and just understanding how these pathogens are transmitted, because for so long we just didn't even know. So I don't know. I guess this vaccine debate. If anybody out there that wants to talk about a pro-vaccine argument, please call in, because we want to hear from you. If you want to talk about people getting arrested for not using vaccines, I guess you can call in as well. That'd be pretty interesting. The call-in number, by the way, is 718-717-8296. So feel free to call us and let us know what you're thinking. If not, we're going to move on to this next topic here, and I figure we're going to jump across the ocean, and we'll come back to U.S. news in a little bit. But this topic here is definitely controversial. The UK is basically approving genetically modified babies, and by genetically modified, what I mean is what they're going to do is they're going to take the sperm of the father, the egg of the mother, and then they're going to use some DNA from a third woman. So basically, the baby will genetically have two different mothers. So this to me is something that I think is very controversial and is deserving of a debate. Personally, of course, with me, I'm a very pro-science type of person, and I think this is definitely possibly positive in a way, but I think it can get ugly really, really quick. What do you guys think, DB?
Who can afford to do that? That's, again, we're going to have, you think the 1%'s bad now. Wait until their kids are 10 times smarter than your kids.
Are they going to vaccinate us with that?
So you think that's going to make the kids smarter because they have 3 different parents?
No,
Well,
they'll actually, they're going to genetically modify them and take out any marker that would be bad and put in any marker that would be good.
Yeah, there's definitely. I think there's definitely a possibility that in the it's what they call designer babies. Where people could say, okay, well, I want my baby to have this look, and I want I want my baby to be extremely smart, and I want it to be like this and like that.
Do you think they're trying to play God too much? I think they're doing too much. It just took me all the way back to the Frankenstein movie. You know what I mean? It's like they took different parts from dead people, killing people, and you want to put them together and then give them life. Like that's like it's like they playing God too much for me, man. Just too much. They mix in. You heard of transhumanism. You know what I'm saying? They want to put machines like Iron Man. They want to make people like that, transhumanism, make them into robots, iRobot. I mean, like, I think they're doing a little bit too much.
Yeah, so I think you make a great point about transhumanism, and I think the way it's related, I don't know when, let's say 20, 30 years from now, when transhumanism is a big thing where, when you start replacing your bones with titanium bones and you start, making these kind of adjustments to your body, maybe you want eyes that can zoom in really far or whatever. And in the future,
but then you're no longer human. You're no longer yourself. You're no longer what God made you to be. Now you're just artificial everything. You're not even real life anymore. You just everything. All right, let's say, for example, everything's artificial. Like everybody eats food down to corn, GMO foods, preservatives, additives, different chemicals in food. You can't even pronounce them. And everything is just so artificial. Like they're taking the place of God and they're putting themselves in His place. Like you don't want Him here, you kick Him out, but then you want to emulate Him and imitate Him. Like I don't, I think that's just a bit too much. Like,
yeah,
why are you doing that?
I can definitely see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. I'm not a huge believer in God, but I am a very much a naturalist. And one thing that quickly, the point I wanted to make before I move on to this, the whole genetically modifying and transhumanism, where it can kind of vibe together here is. They may select certain traits to get people where their bodies won't reject certain metals. Like if they want someone that is, if you're going to be big on transhumanism, you don't want your body to reject titanium. Well, then they're going to go ahead with the genetics with someone that has genetics that isn't going to reject titanium. But now back to this whole playing God thing, and I think you make a great point, and I kind of made this point a little bit with the vaccines too. When we start doing things like this, we're detaching ourselves from evolution. because in nature there is what at least used to exist is natural selection, and what would happen is that genes that were traits that were good as far as reproducing would live on, and traits that weren't would die off. And that to me is why I believe autism is definitely an environmentally caused disorder, because if it weren't, then it would the numbers would be going down, not up. But the thing about this genetically modifying these babies, because the reason that they're talking about doing it is because there's certain people have these genetic disorders where they know if they have a kid, there's a very likely chance that their kid is going to have this really bad disorder. So the
you could be a carrier too. Like,
yeah.
I'm a carrier, so if I happen to have a child with somebody that has the same genetic carrier code that I have, there's a 50% chance they have a fatal heart defect. And that would be awesome for me if I could take that out of my child. But like you said, where does it end? We're going too far when we stop being human and stop having the human experience, because then what is life about if it's not about that?
All right, so let me I just want to say, all right, you want to make these genetically modified people and children, but what about their emotion and the caring and the love? Are they still going to have that? Because that's essential to everybody. You know what I'm saying? To love somebody, to care, to nurture, to have feelings. Like, are they going to have that? Or are they just going to be like these clone people? They're not real.
We won't.
I mean,
know.
They are, but you know what I mean? It's not made in a way that it's supposed to be made. Like, man and woman supposed to procreate and create together. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's supposed to be. But to take something and slice it and do all these things, because not even that, they can actually take animal genes and put them inside those. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that test tube baby thing, and that's a whole nother question. Is when you do have a child like that, do you tell the kid, hey, we genetically modified you so that you wouldn't have your mom's cancer, high chances of getting this horrible cancer or whatever? Do you even tell the kid, hey, this is what happened, or do you just not even tell them, keep it a secret? I mean, that's a whole nother, problem that's going to have to be addressed here.
Exactly. That's like telling the kid, oh, well, you was adopted. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, well, you were put in a petri dish and we just put you together because we wanted you this way. Like, you got to look at the mind of a child was very oppressive, and they're like sponges. They soak up everything. You got to look at how they're going to grow up, if they're going to have feelings, if they're going to care. Because you could do all of that, but if they're going to have that true essence of life to say, okay, well, I care, I love, why are they going to have that?
Yeah, and then the other question here is, so you got the problem with designer babies, and then what is a pretty probable thing that can happen is these really rich people are going to start genetically modifying their kids to be extremely, extremely smart on like Einstein levels and stuff like that. Not saying that it'd be bad to get certain people extremely smart like that, but if we're dealing with an oligarchy right now where it's the 0.001 owning everything. I mean, think about it if they were able to make their kids like ultra smart as well and then have all those resources to back it all up. I mean, we'd be dealing with some pretty crazy stuff. And then, the other question that comes to my mind is, what is the military going to do with this? Is the military going to have a field day? Are they going to make a bunch of these warrior people? I mean,
I think that's already been done, Nick. I mean, if you do any research on Super Soldier Program at all, they've been playing around with this stuff since the late 50s, early 60s.
Well,
and I'm talking about, we have third generation Super Soldiers now, Nick, which is the Super Soldiers had kids and their kids had kids. So these people you have no idea what they're up to at this point.
It's funny. We always come back to Operation Paperclip, but of course the Nazis have been documented as trying to do very similar ideas as far as breeding these Aryan soldiers and all this bullshit. And then Operation Paperclip, all those soldiers came over to the U.S. and worked for us. So of course they're already within our government and within other Western governments.
All right, because like this. Okay, now they're super soldiers. They're these super ultra smart people. What about the people that are not like them? Are they going to have to kill us off because we're not like that? Because we're actually full human and we came out of the womb of our parent? Like, are they going to get rid of us? You get what I'm saying? Like, what is their purpose? Yeah, but so that's going to be a whole different war. That's
It
going to be a
will
whole
be.
different. Okay, you're going to get rid of the real people and have these super soldiers, these super modified people running around on the earth. So the whole agenda now, okay, let's just kill off everybody that's real. You know what I mean? Like, what is that about? Like, because it's just strange that people's minds can even go that far to want to, like I said, you might not, believe in God or whatever. I do, you know what I'm saying? And that's not even a debate, but just the fact that you're taking the very essence of our life and creation coming up out of our mother's womb, where they're being born in these little petri dishes and tubes. Like, they're not real people. Well, they are to an extent, but I'm sure they're just not going to add. They're going to add other things into that.
They probably don't have souls.
Yeah, I mean it's
exactly. Thank you.
It's a very
like a zombie.
Yeah, it's a very
A
big
robot
question.
zombie.
We're gonna have to wait and see what happens and find out. Now, the other thing that kind of interests me too is if you look at it from kind of a angle of what people tend to do, and people tend to try to fit in, and that's kind of this herd mentality. People always want to fit in. So the other thing I'm worried about too is that a lot of these designer babies, people are going to say, well, I don't want my kid to be too much like this or too much like that. So what it also could do eventually is take out the randomized brilliance that goes into place when it comes to this natural selection, natural reproduction, where it's every time that someone reproduces naturally, it's like a roll of the dice. It's very much roulette. I mean, Einstein may have been the genius that he was, but if he had a brother, there's no telling. The brother could have been very unintelligent, just because that's the nature of genetic roulette. And when people start making these designer babies, sooner or later, it might just be everybody just wants to be average, and then all of a sudden, everybody looks the same. And then all of a sudden, everybody thinks the same. You know what I mean? And that could be a very dangerous prospect as well. Because when we start making these designer babies, then we cut out all these good mistakes. Because every time there's a reproduction, every time someone conceives a baby, there's good mistakes and there's bad mistakes when it comes to genetics. And sometimes the kid can be born with a defect. Sometimes the kid could be born Einstein. That's the nature and the beauty of natural selection. And I fear that this direction that we're going is going very much in the synthetic direction, a counter natural direction. And if you look at life on Earth for the past the billions of years that life has existed here on Earth that we know of, it's been nothing but natural selection and organisms dealing with their environment and evolving. Now we're taking that factor out. We're taking evolution out of the equation, and that is a very, very dangerous prospect. And I think it will have very big impacts on our ecosystem and definitely on the Earth, on the biosphere and everything. I mean, we're going to have to. I mean, if that's what we're going to do, we're going to have to go off planet as quickly as possible, because when we disrupt nature like that, it's going to disrupt the biosphere, and that's where I'm afraid that it could have drastic consequences.
It's gonna mess up everything. It's like throwing a monkey wrench in the whole plan. It's like, it's like eugenics. It all boils down from eugenics. You know what I'm saying? At that time, the people that were, maybe they were slow. Maybe they wasn't as fast as other people. They want to get rid of them. And that goes to as far as the population policy. Like, it just goes so far. Like, how you feel like I don't even know how people feel like they have a right to make up a depopulation policy to kill a certain amount of people, like in the Georgia Guidestones. You're telling people you're going to have under a certain amount of people. Who are you to even make that decision? You guys did not. First of all, you guys did not create a bird. You didn't make the trees, the stars, the moon. You can't make the air blow. Like, you don't do those things. You know what I'm saying? And for you to go outside of that and try to change it, I think you have a real problem. I think you have a real narcissistic problem. You want to be in control, and if nobody's going with it, then you want to kill them. If they're not going on with your agenda, your plan, your protocol, you want to kill them. Like, that's not right.
The problem is they're psychopathic, so they don't care. They don't care that you care that they don't care. That's the whole thing, is that these people, you could plead with them for your life, and you're nothing. You're an ant to them. And we've got to we've got to take the power away from them. And the power to take the power away from them is going to be the hardest thing humanity's ever had to do, because we're going to have to find a way to get past money. That's the only way we can stop them, because as long as they have that, they control it everywhere in the whole world, and they can get anybody with low moral standards and no ethics to do their dirty work. And it's never going to stop, because the good people aren't going to rise up because they're good. You see, we got to cut off their power base, and then that's it. But how do we get to that next step? It's going to be painful as hell.
I think.
Well, another problem that I see is being in Hollywood. I already complain about Hollywood, how there's all these toxic people, and of course my crew says I'm the crazy ass Latino they've ever met in my life. I'm always smiling, I'm always high, I like, blah blah blah, you know. And people don't smile. There's a lot of fake smiles out there, and it just blows me away, because people should smile more, stuff like that. And by having these people it's going to remind me of Nazi Germany, where all these soldiers look the same. It's going to remind me of Stepford Wives, you know. And we don't need more of that, you know.
Yeah, you're right in the belly of the beast of where the designer babies are going to be popping out everywhere once they legalize this stuff in the U.S. And, of course, there's going to be, now that it's legal in the U.K., all these rich guys are going to go over there and have their babies made over there in the U.K. And then they're going to bring them back. And you know, I don't doubt that a lot of these people will be chosen, like, they'll be genetically engineered just to be attractive and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Just to do particular jobs. Like, you'll have two celebrities that are both actors. You know, one named Pitt, the other one named Jolie, and they'll have a kid that's like a perfect actor.
I mean, but you're right. I mean, there's no telling where this thing ends. I mean, it can be abused, and it's something that needs to be kept in check. You know, and if it's for these very rare cases where there's people that are, you know, would be very responsible parents, and they just have a genetic trait where it's going to cause a big problem, and they want to do it, cool. But if it starts getting to this point where we're just making designer babies, and I mean, it really does, as the caller from 347 was saying, it really loses touch with our humanity, man, I think.
It does. I mean, I think one way I believe that it can be helped is to constantly spread the truth, constantly spread the facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you guys are doing are wrong. I mean, there's going to be a consequence behind exposing the truth. And if you're willing to expose the truth, then you're willing to accept the consequences, even if it's death. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're fighting for a cause and you're helping mankind itself. Me personally, I'm an African American woman. I will say that. And to me, it doesn't matter about a color. It doesn't matter about a race, because we're all human. It doesn't matter. We all have feelings. We all have emotions. I'm an African American woman. There's another woman. She may be Caucasian from China, but she still has breasts. She still has a vagina. She still has kids. We're all the same, and we all are going through this, because at the end of the day, it's not a black thing, a white thing, a Chinese thing. It's the destruction of humanity.
Definitely.
It's people that are literally quite not acting human anymore against the rest of us.
They're acting like beasts and animals, like the system of the beast, the mark of the beast. Everything's a beastly, animalistic system.
To me,
nobody cares. Everybody cares more about a dollar bill than their child, their mother, themselves.
To me, one of the important things that we need to focus on, and this is a huge point in the book Alchemy of a Timeless Resistance by John Vives. He's one of our writers on the anti-media as well. Is consistent morality, and that's a huge problem, man. And that's where they get away with all these crazy things, because they, on one hand, they say, okay, well, you know, terrorism is bad and stuff, and then on the other hand, we just find out that the CIA was working with the Mossad, and they blew up some guy inside of Syria and all this stuff. And at the time, they told us, oh, yeah, we don't know. We weren't involved. You know, so these guys were lying. And 5 whistleblowers stepped forward and said, no, that's not true. We were behind it. CIA did it. It's very much this inconsistent morality that we're dealing with. And to me is one of the things that we need to be really pushing forward with, because it's like this whole foreign policy stuff. I mean, how many people did we kill in Iraq when Saddam Hussein had no part of what went on? I mean, it's horrible. 9/11, all those people died. Supposedly Osama bin Laden was responsible for it. Okay, if that's the case, then just go after that guy. Why are we going into Iraq and killing hundreds of thousands of people? You know, so it's one of these things like, oh, terrorism is bad, 9/11 was bad, but let's go ahead and just go into Iraq for no reason and just blow a bunch of people up. You know, so it's this inconsistent morality that we're dealing with. And if the government were held to this scale, I mean, for instance, let's look at this IRS. And I know this is kind of a stale story, and it's been played out by all the conservatives and shit. But the whole IRS thing where they were targeting those Tea Party groups, and then they brought the lady in on a subpoena, and they said, "Hey, show us the emails. We want to see what you were talking about." And all of a sudden, oh, the hard drive blew up, and we can't reproduce the emails. But what happens when the IRS comes to you and says, "Hey, bro, you got to pay your taxes," and you say, "Oh, sorry, my computer crashed and my taxes, all my files were on there, so I guess I don't got to pay you this year." No, that isn't going to happen. You're going to get thrown in jail. You know what I mean? So we need to hold these guys to a consistent moral standard. Otherwise, we're always going to get taken advantage of over and over. And then they're going to throw a bunch of people in jail because of the drug war, while at the same time protecting the opium trade in Afghanistan. You know what I'm saying? If there isn't a moral standard, then we're never going to be able to hold anybody accountable. And so I think that's one of the things that we really got to push for, is to hold a consistent moral standard for everybody. The citizens, every individual, every group, every corporation, every government agency should be held to a consistent moral standard. Hey,
But
you don't
who can
kill
do
people.
that, Nick?
I
There's
think
only,
they should be held
you know.
accountable for their actions. They should be held accountable for their actions. They should be audited. Let's audit them.
Yeah.
Let's
But
audit
they
the
have
corporations.
been audited. See, the Fed got audited, and it turned out that the $700 billion bailout ended up turning into something like a $7 trillion bailout overseas.
Let me tell you something. First of all, they make the money. Okay, they make the money. It recycles and goes right back to them. Like, come on, like, you know, they're a bunch of liars. They're a bunch of users. You know, and that's all they do. If you don't, let me tell you something I learned. If a person doesn't know something, it's easier for them to be taken advantage of. When you know the truth,
Here's a question for Nick and DB.
and you have more than one person that knows the truth. People have to speak up and start talking the truth.
All
They
right.
have to, because
I agree. I think you make a great point. Sorry, Manny, just to give you a heads up, we got to move quickly here. We got to get to you, and then we got another caller after that, and then there's another story I want to talk about. So let's go quick. What's up?
Okay, let me ask you a quick question, you and DB. If you're going to modify babies in England, what's going to happen to the immigration status? I mean, he's modified in England, so he's going to be a what citizen?
they're going to be automatic citizen. What do you mean?
Yeah.
They productive and they made them. They're going to be automatic citizen. What do you mean? They're going to get a social. They're going to get a birth certificate. They're going to get everything they need. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, by U.S. law, you know, if you go over there, it doesn't matter where it conceives, it's where it's born. So if you go to England, have the baby in vitro fertilization, which is where they genetically modify it, implant it into the womb, then the woman can come back here or whatever country they're from, have the baby here, it'll be a U.S. citizen, as far as I know.
This all sounds so satanic to me. All of this sounds so satanic. They just trying to play God.
So we do have one more caller I want to get to real quick from 202. How's it going? You're on the Anti-Media. What do you want to talk about?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I heard, like, since we were talking about Middle East and stuff, I just want to say that ISIS or ISIL, whatever they call it, like, it's supposed to be Muslims or Islamist terrorists, extremists, whatever. But I never heard like I never heard about them killing any Israeli or Jewish person. And
Yeah, well,
like,
who runs them, you know?
yeah, Israel is like the worst enemy of Arabs and Muslims, and they never attack them. Instead, they're attacking other Arabs and France. France was supposed to be like to recognize Palestine as a independent country. Japan also was giving like hundreds of $millions to Palestine, and ISIS went ahead and killed some French people, had nothing to do with them, and some Japanese hostages. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
ISIS is not. They're not Muslim.
It's crazy. I agree with you definitely. ISIS is not Muslim. There was a report that I saw today that was basically saying some captives that were with them. They said they never even had any Qurans with them. They're definitely not. They don't live by Islamic law, just as Christians don't live by Christian law in the U.S. because our government is supposedly Christian. We blow people up all the time.
They're the first private army
I think that's just a ploy. I think all of that with the Islam, I think that's all just a ploy to put in divide and conquer. It's just a divide and conquer thing. And I feel like the whole government, the U.S., whatever they're trying to do, they want to go to other countries and take over it. And those other countries are not having it. But that's why they have their so-called little rebels, because they're fighting against the U.S. where they don't come in there and do what they want to do, like they do here, and dumb us down.
That's the end of the show, guys. Thanks for calling in. Catch you guys 5 days a week, same time, same site.
Yo, here we go through the stereo.